one by one, these people are just going to walk out the door.
Sure.
CM Punk walked out the door. Now we're going to let Britt Baker walk out the door. Now we're going to let – you've got to know how to deal with stars with egos, Chris. You know that. And if you don't know how to deal with that type of a personality, you're going to lose a lot of talent along the way, man.
All right, let's talk about Ricky Starks, man. I received some information from within that caused a really interesting firestorm on Twitter that actually became more of a buzzing topic than the actual story.
We talked about you today, Chris, and I had to point out to people today. I said, guys, whether you realize it or not, Dr. Chris is indeed a doctor.
Yes.
Dr. Chris is indeed dealing with patients all day.
Yes.
Do you think Dr. Chris has the time to weed through every single wrestling news board out there to see who said what? Do you actually think Dr. Dr. Chris has the time to do that?
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
I literally, like as a shoot, I poke in between clients for a hot second throughout the day. If I receive information, I report it. And I do that probably a couple times. Throughout the entire day, I'm focusing on my clients. Like, Vince, let me just break it down. You know this stuff, but let me just break it down. I literally have clients who want to commit suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think I give a flip about Twitter beef?
It's ridiculous.
And I'm calming someone down who wants to kill themselves. That's silly to me. That's absolutely silly to me. And I don't have the time for it.
That really, Chris, puts everything in its proper perspective. It really does, man. It really does.
I got time for that, man. I got time for that mess. It's so ridiculous to me. But so Ricky Starks was the the news that came with that was the start of this fun firestorm that happened. And from what I received was Ricky Starks asked for his release from AEW. He cited that there was a 10-month span. From the information I received, he was upset that it's been nearly a year. It's been like 10 months since March of 2024, I believe, that he's been a part of it. I also received information that he never turned down any creative ideas, although for some odd reason that was a big rumor throughout the year that he was doing that. Rumors just absolutely spread on just unverified, unconfirmed rumors. Twitter is just a hotbed for stuff like that, just to spin and make stuff areas of topic for no odd reason. And so I mean, you've had some views on Ricky Starks before, as far as just his popularity. But what do you think as far as like Ricky Starks, from what you've seen of him, and what do you think about this trend, so to speak, of late of Tony Khan holding people out of their contracts without using them?
It's really, it's funny, Chris. I can't I know Ricky Starks is very, very, very good. But God, I think you'll understand this. Every time I see Ricky Starks, I worked with the young Sonny Siaki. Mm-hmm. And I thought Sonny could have been absolutely great. So like every time I think of Ricky Starks, I think of Sonny Siaki. Bro, we're starting to see a pattern here. We saw a pattern with CM Punk. We're seeing the same pattern with Britt Baker. Now there are some issues. Bro, If you, Chris, you know this, we always get back to Chris's psychology. If somebody is a star, if somebody is a blue chipper, if somebody is a cut above the rest, they're going to have somewhat of a chip on their shoulder. Mm-hmm. They are going to have an ego, and they are going to be difficult to work with. They're artists. Prime example for me during my time was Shawn Michaels. Very, very, very difficult to work with. Some may even call it toxic. Okay? But brother, if you are the owner of the company, you've got to know how to deal with people like this. Because if you want stars coming through your doors, you're going to deal with a lot of people like this, Chris. If you're good, if you're a star, you're going to have some baggage. You're not going to be easy to work with. And man, if you don't know how to massage that, one by one, these people are just going to walk out the door. Sure. CM Punk walked out the door. Now we're going to let Britt Baker walk out the door. Now we're going to let... You've got to know how to deal with stars with egos, Chris. You know that. And if you don't know how to deal with that type of a personality, you're going to lose a lot of talent along the way, man.
100%. And I do think, when it comes to like occupational psychology, one of the biggest things that people in management positions have to understand and have to really take classes and get training for is interpersonal communications.
Yep.
And it's so important for someone in a management or a leadership position to have very good interpersonal communication skills. Otherwise, you will be driven to the ground and ran over before anybody even noticed. And so I think at the end of the day, the problem with Tony Khan is he's a nice guy from what I've heard. I will not dispute that at all. But nice guys can be good leaders if they stand on business. And standing on business isn't making everybody happy.
Right.
Standing on business is doing what you need to do, having an opportunity to be respected, but at the same time, we can be cool, but at the same time, no. There's a margin here. There's a boundary that you're not going to cross with me. And a lot of times people, it's interesting, man. I think a lot of wrestlers would say that if I'm looking at it from a psychological standpoint, I would say that it's polar opposites in an extreme way for both of them. With Vince McMahon versus Tony Khan, I think if there was like someone in the middle, maybe like a Shane McMahon, for instance, that was it. He's probably as close to the middle of that as possible. People didn't really like Vince because they feel like they couldn't get to know him more as far as wrestlers are concerned. But on the Tony Khan level, a lot of people love him, but at the same time, that is blinding his leadership skills. And that's really blurring it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who are about business, who are like, man, listen, I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm trying to make money. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to do my job and make money. If having a positive relationship with you is a part of that, okay, that's a bonus. But I didn't come here to be your friend. Mm-hmm. I came here to up my stock, get money, sign a nice contract, continue to build my stock, make more money because of having exposure of television time. You can't do that if you've been sitting in the sidelines for 10 months.
Yeah.
You're not building your stock. And I'm just wondering why Tony Khan is continuing to keep people on the sidelines. I'm wondering, Vince, and you would know about this more than I would from an inside perspective. Why do you think Tony Khan would, working with Vince McMahon, and there's a couple times where he's held contracts recently in the past, 10 years or so. Rey Mysterio was upset for a moment that his contract was held because he had some injury time. Brody Lee, he was when he was Luke Harper, he was pretty upset that his contract was held because he had injury time. I understand from a standpoint, and Barry Corbin has been very vocal against fans from what reports are saying, as far as siding with Tony Khan as far as contracts are concerned. I understand it from a business standpoint, but why don't you just use him? He's available. He helps you, with promoting your brand. Why would Tony Khan hold someone like a Ricky Starks?
I'll tell you what I think, Chris. You see this a lot in professional wrestling, but I think you see it a lot more in AEW than WWE. There's a lot of flavor of the months.
Sure. Yeah.
In AEW. And I think that, Chris, I think that goes back to creative. I think it's flavor of the month because I've got an idea for you. We can do this now. Maybe we can get 4 weeks out of it. Maybe we can get 8 weeks out of it. But after that 8 weeks, I got to put you back on the shelf now, and now it's the next. And Chris, I've said it a million times. You're never going to get anybody over that way. Never. 100%. The starting and the stopping and the starting and the stopping. You're never going to get anybody over. And I see Jeff Jarrett's the flavor of the month right now. So whatever he's doing with Jeff, that's going to come to an end. Now, okay, I'm going to put you on the shelf now because I'm not sure where we go from here. And here's another flavor of the month. And I got to tell you, man, from Ricky Starks' point of view, if you're one of those flavors of the month, it sucks.
Yes.
It sucks because when this 8 weeks, 10 weeks is up, my butt's going to be at home, man. And that sucks, man.
It does. I played sports throughout my entire life growing up, and man, there were times that I had starting positions. I played basketball, I played football, I played tennis too, and volleyball. I played a bunch of sports, but mainly I played basketball. That was my main sport growing up. And there were times where I wasn't the best player. I would get like a 6th or 7th man position. There were times that I was pretty good. I played a 3 or a 4 usually, sometimes a 5 as a center. And there were times where I was a part of the starting lineup. Because I was pretty solid. And there were times where I wasn't as good. I'd be on the bench. I'd be ready. I'm like, coach, man, come on, get me in. I'm ready. Like I'm ready to go. And I can't imagine if the entire game goes by and I'm just sitting on the bench, ready, eager. Come on, coach, let me in. And for the entire game, he doesn't let me in, man. A lot of people are saying, well, he's still getting paid. Man, that's not the same. If I set the bench the entire season playing for the Ohio State Buckeyes right now, I would still have the national championship. However, it stops me from earning and increasing my draft stock. Yeah. And that's the next level. Right. Good athletes look at the next level. What's the next level? Right now, I'm going to plateau eventually, and right now it's not going to. I'm not just going to rest on my laurels and saying I'm the best ever. No, I'm continuing to get better and better. I need reps. I need to get reps.
And Chris, not only that, you have a fan base.
Yes. Exactly.
Out of sight, out of mind, man. The more you're sitting at home, out of sight, out of mind, that is going to hurt you now financially. You've got a fan base. That's why I'm saying you never get anybody over with this stop, start.
Yeah. Imagine putting stock in a company that shuts down or goes on temporary leave. You know what I mean? Like that would be a horrible decision to put stock in. Oh, let me put a stock in this company. The company just announced that it's going to be on temporary leave for 10 months.
Right.
Your stock's not going to improve by doing that. It'll decline most likely, and you'll have a bunch of people pull out, and not be as invested. So you have to think of that when it comes to the stock of the wrestlers too. You gotta get those reps, man. Got to keep going.
Bro, I just heard such a great story. We talked about Ichiro going into the Hall of Fame. This is such a great story, bro. Bob Melville was one of his managers in Seattle. And bro, 162 games a year, and Ichiro played in every one of them. Okay. So, bro, Ichiro, like, Melvin could just tell, like, he was just had given everything. You know what I'm saying? So the day before the next game, Bob Melvin told him, Itch, I'm giving you the day off tomorrow. So Melvin says next day they get to the stadium. Ichiro goes through all his drills, and he's sitting in the dugout, bro, with the bat in one hand, a glove in the other, and his knee going up and down, up and down, up and down. And Melvin said, he looked at Ichiro and said, bro, relax, take the day off. And then a little kid walked by wearing an Ichiro jersey. And Ichiro looked at the kid and then looked at Melvin and said, now do you understand? Because in Ichiro's mind, that kid came to see him play today, and he's not in the lineup. And that, bro, and think about this, Chris. You're talking one day.
Yeah.
Starks hasn't been in the lineup in 10 months.
Exactly. Yep. Well said. Absolutely. Yeah. Great story that explains it all and encapsulated. Well done.
Yep.
This guy right here is Vince Russo. I'm Dr. Chris. This is Writing with Russo. Have a good night, everybody. So long.